Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode. Today, we're going to talk about hip fractures. Now, don't go away. Don't think this is never going to happen to you. This is a really important piece. And as we get closer and closer to the onset of winter, it's important to understand the risk factors and make sure you're protecting yourself adequately. We published an article on the Oldish yesterday, I believe it was, that talked about hip fractures and the fact that by 2050, the rate of hip fractures is set to double. Now that's really frightening. And even if you think, well, 2050, I'm not going to be around by then, don't take that attitude, really. And dismiss it, because you're playing with your health, and hip fractures are really very dangerous, but many of them are highly preventable. However, it takes you being proactive. To look at the rate doubling by 2050, we look at a steady incline. So it's not that we're going to hit 2050 and all of a sudden the rates are going to double. It is a steady incline. So please, please, please take steps so that you are not a statistic. There are lots of things you can do. Last week, our video was about the tread on your shoes and boots and slippers. If you didn't see it, just scroll down in this feed and you will find it. So watch that. You do need to make sure that what you're walking on is going to be able to keep you safe. Now, another thing you can do is check your risk for osteoporosis. You can get a bone scan. You can talk to your doctor. Make sure you're getting enough calcium in your diet. Those are some very important pieces around osteoporosis. Exercise is something we talk about here a lot. Make sure that you are including weight-bearing exercise in what you do. Now, I know that lots of people, as we get toward winter and the snow starts to fall, they are less inclined to go outside walking. It becomes a little scary, particularly for people who have fallen in the past. That's fine. Figure out a route in your home to get your steps in. And I know that might sound silly, walking around your house, but really, that matters. Figure out your route, and whether you do 500 steps at a time or more, try to get as close to 10,000 steps a day as you possibly can. If you haven't walked before, don't worry about hitting 10,000. Just start and work your way up. Do include weight bearing though. And weight bearing, you don't need to go and get fancy weights. Go get some cans of soup out of your cupboard. Get those jugs of laundry detergent or bleach. Pick up the box of cat litter. Anything that will give you weight to bear and work with, okay? You can also get those stretchy elastic things that you can, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of them, but you'll know what I mean. You can put one under your foot and pull up on them, and that gives resistance. That matters too. So, put it on your Christmas list, or if you're out and about in a Canadian Tire or a Home Hardware, look in their exercise section and see if you can't find those elastic bands there. Assistive devices. If you have been told by someone you need to use them, that could be a cane, it could be a walker, it could be Nordic walking poles. Use them. I know that a lot of people tell me, well, I don't want to stand out. I don't want to look different. How different are you going to look if you've had a hip fracture and you're in a wheelchair? So, it's degrees of intensity, isn't it? So if you've been diagnosed and been told you need an assistive device, use it. Make sure you get it fitted properly, because a cane, for instance, that's at the wrong height will do you more harm than good. Also consider getting an ice pick to put on the bottom of your cane. Those can be really helpful. Okay, so there's that. If you are somebody who is challenged by urinary incontinence, talk to your doctor. Talk to an incontinence nurse specialist. Try to find ways to resolve it. And here's why. Because when people feel the urge to urinate, they tend to walk more quickly toward the bathroom. Think especially at night when you're wakened from a deep sleep and you have to go to the bathroom. Your bladder has wakened you. So by the time you're awake enough to understand this, now you really have to go. So you've got to get out of bed and you're going to hustle to the washroom. Well, here's the reality. Leaks happen. And with a fall, what can happen is that when there's urinary leak, you can step in it and it becomes a fall hazard. You can fall down. It's just like stepping on water on a tile floor. No different. You can fall in the urine that you have leaked. So you really want to get a handle on urinary incontinence. It is not a normal part of aging. We have done these videos before. Incontinence, whether it's urinary or bowel, is not a normal part of aging. So if that's something that challenges you, make sure you talk to an expert about it and try to find solutions. I did once talk, this was a few years ago, I talked with a urinary incontinence nurse specialist, and she was of the belief that if we were able to fix that problem, we would fix 90% of falls and hip fractures. Imagine, that's a very high number. So you want to fix urinary incontinence. Okay, hip protectors. Now, I'm going to give you a disclaimer here. My company sells Hip Saver hip protectors. So I do have a bias toward that brand, of course. But here's the thing. Hip protectors for people who are at risk of falling can protect you from a hip fracture in many cases. The thing that I hear from most people, again, the same as with assistive devices, is they don't want to look different. In the brand that I sell, there is a particular model called Slim Fit. And it is meant for people who do not wear an incontinence brief. And I can honestly tell you, nobody will know you're wearing it. I did an in-service a few years ago to a large group of women. It was a church women's group. There were probably 150, maybe not quite that, 125 to 150 women in the room. And one of them was somebody I knew well enough to approach her some days before my talk. And I said to her, if I get you the right size of this, will you wear it and not tell anybody that you're wearing it? And I want to be able to point you out at some point and show people that nobody can tell. Well, she agreed. This lady was a very tall, slender woman. She wore a pair of black pants and a blouse that she tucked in, and she had on a cardigan, which was not done up. So, at whatever point in my talk, I asked everybody in the room to stand up. Stand up. Somebody is wearing hip protectors. Let's see if you can figure out who it is. Just take a minute, look around you, look at each other's hips, see if you can figure out who's wearing it. Nobody knew. Nobody knew. And when I pointed her out, and she was sort of more visible in the room because the attention now was all on her, people were shocked. They could not tell she was wearing a hip protector. So when you think of hip protectors, don't think of the big hockey pads. That's not what it is at all. They are nothing like that. The pads themselves are 1/2 inch thick, so that's 1/2 inch on either side. Will you have to go up a size in pants? I have no idea. If you wear a size 12 and you're on the lower end of that fit range, probably not. If you're on the higher end of that fit range and your pants are tight and you are actually more comfortable in a size 14, you may have to go up to a size 14. But everybody's bodies are different. Don't sweat it. I think many of my contemporaries now, when we talk about the sizing of clothes, we don't even think about that. We just want to be comfortable. And if things can fit nicely, that's what matters. That's all that matters. Nobody is going to be able to tell you're wearing a hip protector, okay? Now, if you are somebody who wears incontinence briefs, full incontinence briefs, I cannot tell you that the hip protectors will be as invisible on you. But guess what? Incontinence briefs are also not invisible. So there you go. Protect yourself. I want to also mention that a lot of people will put hip protectors on when they leave the house, when they're going for a walk, when they're taking the dog for a walk, whatever it is that they're doing, going grocery shopping. The vast majority of falls happen inside your home. So don't think that your home is a safe zone. Speaking of homes, I want to get on to some other points. Throw rugs, pick them up. They are dangerous. People slip and slide on them. They are dangerous. Pick them up. This is a great time of year to check the railings in your home, whether they are inside and it's maybe the railing to your second level or to your basement, perhaps outside, it might be the railing to your outside stairs to get you down to ground level. Check those railings and make sure that they are screwed in properly and that they can bear your weight. That is ever so important, because if you feel like you're going to fall and you're already with a hand on the railing, holding onto it, you're going to grip harder. And I cannot tell you how many people I know who have pulled railings out of the wall. And they really haven't been that rescue hero that you need them to be when you're falling. So take this opportunity to check your rails, and if they wiggle when you move them, get your handyman, whoever that may be, and maybe you are your own handy person. That's fine. Get a handy person to come in and fix that. Somehow, some way. It could be putting a plug into the drywall. It could be taking the railing right off of the wall and securing it in a different position so that it is actually screwed into studs. It could be getting little blocks of wood, which you can paint to match your decor, and screwing the railing into that. Whatever your solution is, you want to make sure that those railings can hold your body weight in the event of a fall. Okay, we talked about shoe tread, throw rugs, railings, assistive devices. Yeah, that's great. So here's another piece. It's a bit of data that I want to tell you about. If you have ever fallen and broken anything, it could be your wrist, it could be your elbow, your shoulder, your knee, I mean, whatever. If you have broken anything, a very, very large study has recently been done that says that a hip fracture occurs on average within 1.5 years of any fracture. Now, I haven't had the opportunity to read the details of the study yet. I just saw the overview. When that comes out, I will read it. But I think that part of what it is referring to is if you break a wrist or an elbow or a shoulder and you fall again, that body part will not be able to sustain your weight. It's not as strong as it used to be because it's already fractured. So in the event that you do fall and it's not able to protect you, you put your hands out and it doesn't hold you, you fall on your shoulder and it crumbles, it doesn't protect you, then the next thing that is protruding really is your hip bone. And that's why hip fractures can happen so frequently in people who have already fallen. So the message here is not to be afraid and to sit in your chair all winter. That will not help you. You will get weaker and weaker and weaker, so that when you do stand up and start to move, your hip fracture rate probability increases dramatically. We don't want you doing that. What we want you to do is be proactive. Make sure you're moving. Make sure you're eating well. Make sure you've checked your osteoporosis levels, and your bone health goes along with that. Make sure that you are organizing your home so that it doesn't become a trap for you. Move the cords out of the way, pick up the throw rugs, train your animals to watch out for you. You know, if one of your animals has a tendency to walk in front of you, you can train them to move when they see you without hurting them. I mean, I've done this with lots of dogs, and I do it with my own cat that I have now. I move my feet to more of a shuffling position and sort of move them like with a scooping action almost, to teach them that when I am coming, you are the one that has to move, not me. Okay? So take all of those proactive steps and keep yourself healthy. Make sure that you are not one of the people that becomes a statistic and contributes to this hip fracture doubling rate by 2050. You can do it. Okay, everybody, I will see you next week on another edition of The Oldish. I will give you a heads up. Next week will be a repeat. Have to have a little surgery on my elbow, not because I fell, but I'll be a little bit out of commission. Anyway, that's fine. I will make it. No problem there. But I will see you live the week after that. Until then, be kind to one another. Take care of yourselves. Be well, everyone. Goodbye.